Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Changing Gears with your host, Chris Gear. Today, I'm with Nicole Fitzpatrick. She is fighting November 1st at Combat Zone 90. She actually fought a couple weekends ago on the Combat Zone 89 card. And I'm going to ask her some questions about her next fight and more. So let's get started. So, after your fight against Maria Zahir at Combat Zone 89, what did you take away from that fight? What are some things you learned about yourself as a fighter? How do you use that fight as a good testing ground and a good almost point to take off from when it comes to this upcoming fight and just the future?
So a kickboxing fight is won by volume unless there's a clear knockout, which I knew going in. However, throwing volume for the sake of volume is definitely not my style. I more want to control the ring, never giving up ground, backing them up. I want to hunt for like the counter strikes and the more intentional hard hits and not wasting energy. So that didn't like it's a sport with a ref and rules and judges and points, and I just know that obviously I need to throw more next time. So I need to throw more to win. That's the biggest thing I learned,
Right,
and I
right.
do that. But I like I've mentioned in my last one, I struggle with anxiety sometimes,
Hmm.
and I was in the cage. We started fighting, and everything I wanted to do and knew that I should do was playing like a movie in my head,
Right,
and my body would just not do it.
right, right,
Like I'm really talking to myself in my head, like, why aren't you throwing this combo? Why aren't you cutting this angle? Like, and it just took like I went into the second round like definitely much better. In third round picked it up even
yeah,
more. But like that first round just anxiety just hit me like a brick wall. So yeah, I mean I've been working on anxiety even more.
yeah, right,
Um, and I had that issue in my first smoker. In my second smoker, I did a hell of a lot better. So I'm hoping that next combat zone, now that I know what to expect when I'm in there, I know just what it's going to feel like, that I'll be able to really just do even better and do everything I know that I can physically do.
right. And you brought up your anxiety. Are you almost glad that you kind of got your first fight over with and you now know kind of where you stand when it comes to being in the cage, with that anxiety? Now you kind of know how to improve upon dealing with it, how to kind of roll with it while the fight's going on. So are you kind of grateful that I wouldn't say you didn't learn the hard way, because that's not a good way to put it, but you actually, you have something to kind of go off of when it comes to actually being in there with your anxiety. So are you almost, kind of happy that you just got it over with, that you know how to deal with it?
I definitely am.
Hmm.
And that's how it works. Like I had to go in there and have that one real tough one to know what to expect and how to feel and how to work through it. Just like with my jujitsu competitions, with the smokers, and everyone gets better and better and better.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
just hope that that holds the same for the cage. Every
Right.
fight gets better.
Right. Definitely. And so when it comes to your game plan, because you mentioned, it kind of almost played like a movie in your head for the last fight. So when it comes to Combat Zone 90 and November 1st, are you taking that same game plan and just going to apply it to this fight? Because you almost feel like it just played out in your head and you didn't actually go out there and do what the game plan was, or have you kind of tweaked the game plan to kind of fit this fight more? What? Not you don't want I don't want you to give away too much, obviously, when it comes to your strategy. But has it deviated from what it was originally, or has it just stayed the same? But you're gonna execute it better this time.
Pretty much the same. I've definitely grown as a fighter, as I'm sure she has also.
Hmm.
But really executing what I know I'm physically capable of. And I guess I am kind of adapting a little to having a rep and having the judges and understanding a little more how that reflects in my fighting, like throwing a lot more to get the volume in there that they look for.
Hmm.
I don't know how many people noticed, but after when they started the second round, I believe it was the second round, the ref called a timeout and pulled me aside, and he said, "Are you okay to fight?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I'm I'm fighting, I'm fine."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "You're not defending her kicks. You need to defend them, or I'm going to call the fight." And that kind of made me panic a little because I don't want it to be called. But like
Right, right.
her her kicks weren't hurting me, so I didn't want to waste the energy when I was already kind of struggling just to get my combos out there. So I just started backing her down and didn't want to waste the time and the energy and like what I didn't have mentally to defend the kicks when they weren't hurting me at all.
Right, right.
So I um so playing more to that, knowing that even though they're not hurting me, the ref can't tell that, you know what I mean, other people can't tell, and they need to see me that I know how to defend it.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So
right.
thinking more of that angle is like the ref and the judges don't know me, they don't watch me spar, they don't know my capabilities, and I have to show everything I can do, whether kind of I need to or not, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
So
no, definitely. So you kind of you want to you just want to maybe get not get better, but be better. Just showing the ref like, hey, like this is
yeah.
how I fight. Don't call it. Don't screw this up. Just let me do my thing, which is totally understandable because a ref shouldn't. Obviously, they're not in the gym with you. They don't know how you fight. They don't know how you train, so
Mhm.
they're not gonna know that about you. So that definitely makes sense. So when it comes to, Maria fought with a, high volume style, she threw a lot, and you seemed, I know you said that you maybe struggled to execute your game plan, but have you tried to kind of emulate what she did, that high volume? Because it didn't seem, at least to me, and, maybe a casual viewer, it didn't seem like she was picking her shots uh like maybe someone more developed would. She was more so just throwing the volume, just trying to stick on you. So have you kind of trained with someone that has that kind of style, and have you um prepared yourself for someone with a similar style, or are you just, again, it was it more just that executing the game plan, not getting in your own head, or was it the style, where was
So
yeah.
uh, I will admit at first I was like a little confused because I
Yeah.
was like, because she wasn't, because so, and then I don't want this to sound like I'm putting her down,
Hmm.
trying to choose my words wisely, but I personally really look for the intentional hits, the rollback counter strike,
Hmm.
waiting for their pause to go. And she didn't. So I will admit, for the first like couple of combos she threw, I was like, "What are we doing? Are
Hmm.
we fighting?" Like,
Right.
took me a minute. So I mean, on her part, that did confuse me for a minute and held me up for a minute. Um, but I have been not someone just spamming me with volume, but I've been trying to be better about throwing more combos and not caring if the counter strike hits me and finishing out the combos to keep up the volume.
Right.
And then so Eric Mitchell and Dylan Bernardini, who are both on the card with me this time,
Hmm.
they're very, very good at coming with the pressure and coming fast. Fast hands, a lot of pressure.
Hmm.
So I always kind of train with that, and that's particularly what when I spar with them, I'm like, just spam me with the pressure, spam me with the hits, and I will work on just being able to counter that, stop them, whatever I need to do.
Right. Right. So you just mentioned that you have some teammates on this card. You had two teammates on the card with you. Was it
Mhm.
two? Yeah, it was two.
Yeah, it was yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah. So you had two teammates on the card, and how did they help you? How did they bring you up and kind of help you just dust yourself off? For the next one, and how are you guys gonna get your payback for this upcoming event? Because Dylan's he has the rematch with Austin Smith, and I meant to ask you, how did you feel about that fight, and how are you guys coming to, redeem yourselves for this one, and really, because I know Dylan's fight was a draw, but and I'm not saying it's equal to a loss or anything, but it's not a win. So how are you guys coming to, get some redemption and, really show off your skills in this on this card?
So John, our coach, is very big on the phrase "we win or we learn."
Mhm.
Times I want to punch him in the face when he says that. Like, I'm no stranger to losing. It took me a very long time in jujitsu to start winning matches, winning competitions. Um, I'm just, yeah. So
Mhm.
we teammates are very supportive. They know like my capabilities. They know how hard I work. Same with Dylan.
Mhm.
Know that what happened in that cage was not by far my best work, not at all. And
Mhm.
they know I struggle with the mental game, and that sometimes that is harder than the physical part of fighting.
Mhm.
So I wallowed for a day, self pity party, whatever. And then so that was Sunday. We immediately got back to work on Monday.
Right, right.
Like I got back to work.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, my jujitsu ladies, they don't do striking, but they are always just so supportive, and they let me cry, and then they hype me right back up.
Right.
So they're also just a huge part of that support system.
Mhm.
The teammates are just like, we understand how you feel. We've lost ourselves. This is the hard truth about how you fought or didn't fight, and now we're gonna laugh and we're gonna work hard. Um, After Bruce's last fight, he had kind of made a post and it said, "I'll get in there with any one of you. I'm not afraid. I won't quit, and I'll keep coming back for more."
Mhm.
And kind of my own mentality.
Right.
Like,
Right.
not
So
afraid to fight anybody, and I will keep coming back
right.
and hopefully learn and win as time progresses. But as far as my payback, it'd be cool to knock her out. Otherwise, just
Right.
hoping for the win.
Yeah, so when it comes to obviously you have a new opponent in Shauna Gonzalez, but when it comes to Marisa here, would you ever chase a rematch with her, or are you just kind of on to better things? And maybe if it down the line it's offered to you, you take it, but are you just kind of focused on different things for now?
Um, she had actually mentioned, like, the post I made after about my loss.
Yeah.
She said that she would be up for a rematch,
Okay. Okay.
and people had actually asked me that after the fight. People don't really know anything about fighting. Like, do they ever do rematches? And of course, Dylan is having
Yeah.
his rematch.
Yep.
So clearly it happens. And I had even mentioned to Maria, I don't know if she does MMA, but it would be kind of cool if maybe like in the near future we debuted MMA as like a rematch or something.
Right. Right.
I said I was up for it when she offered. I didn't really hear anything back. And again, I don't even know if she does MMA, but I definitely would. And I know a lot of fighters who have done that. They've had like their first fight maybe lost and then fought that person like 10 fights down the road just to really see how much
Yeah. Right.
progress.
Is that something you'd be interested in more than just chasing out like an instant rematch? Would you rather improve and then come back and whoop some ass and then kind of or almost like show to yourself how much you've improved since that, maybe that first defeat or something like that? Would that interest you more?
Yeah, I would probably. I mean, it would probably be nicer to wait a few, or maybe my last kickboxing before I go into MMA, or
Yeah.
like I said, does MMA, we debut MMA together, something like that.
Right.
But yeah, I would be completely up for it.
Okay. Yeah. So would you ever is transitioning to MMA something you kind of think about? Do you want to because your next correct me if I'm wrong, your next bout is kickboxing.
Yep.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I definitely, definitely want to do MMA. Um, it's absolutely going to happen. Just don't know how close. There's still some things I struggle with in MMA that I'm not quite ready for yet. Um, but yes, definitely
Okay.
my original goal. And then once I learned how fighting works and through the process.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So, talking more about, your next matchup, when you look at an opponent like Gonzalez, where do you feel like you have the advantage over her? I mean, would it be what are some strengths you feel like you have? Would it be maybe, I don't know how you guys match up physically, but would it be maybe the harder, you can land the harder shots? Maybe you do want to stay more active and, put out some volume this fight. And have you seen something, seen any training footage from her that can kind of back that up? Like, where are you feeling, in this matchup?
I feel so. I'm going mostly off of the fight she just had,
Hmm.
and um, I didn't actually watch that whole fight because I was warming up and getting ready for my fight.
Hmm.
But some people from my gym did, and I feel from just what I've heard that I'm probably a more well-rounded fighter. And I'm pretty not much hurts me, honestly.
Right.
Like I can take a pretty good beating and still fight back. Um, I've heard that she tends to clinch up a lot. And I don't know if that's on purpose by her or she just found herself in those situations. But I don't play the clinch game.
Right.
I
Right.
I did some community sparring with Brittany from Burgess. I don't know Brittany's last name. But
It's okay.
she shout out to her because she clinched up a lot and I did not like it. And I made sure that I immediately worked on owning every clinch I end up in, whether I initiate it or somebody else does, and that I own it and that I win right off the clinch, with the punches right off the clinch. So
Hmm.
that will help me a
Right.
lot. But I'm really just going to try to keep her right at the end of my reach. So if she wants to come in that close for a clinch, she's going to have to take a beating to get there.
Right. Yeah. And we kind of talked about things you learned in your last matchup. So, how do you feel about your ability to kind of adapt to fights as they go on? Did you kind of learn a lot about that in your last matchup? Like you kind of learned how to kind of adapt and kind of read somebody as the fight's going on, because it's one thing to, and I can maybe speak from limited experience, but I feel as if it's one thing to be training and be sparring and kind of practice it almost, than being in the cage and actually having to adapt to an opponent who was trying to evolve as the fight goes on. So how do you feel about your ability to kind of, you know, almost evolve as the fight goes on and kind of adapt to what's changing, and maybe adapt to, when you're tired, how to change things up, something like that. So how do you feel about, your ability?
Um, I would say adaptability is probably the hardest part of fighting.
Hmm.
There's so much you're thinking about and concentrating on. And in that fight with Maria, once I realized what she was throwing at me and kicking with me wasn't going to hurt me, then I could kind of like switch gears a little bit. Um,
Change gears, more like.
um, uh, so in that sense, I guess for me personally, the first thing I'm like, all right, is like, how much can this person actually hurt me? And
Right.
then you
Right.
take risk, I guess, as you realize whether they can or can't.
Hmm.
But I feel like all the practice I have with MMA helps this kind of adapting a
Right.
lot.
Right.
Uh,
Definitely.
from like a striking to a grappling mindset. It's going to be a split second quick reaction time, and I'm definitely working very hard on that.
Okay. Right. Right. Yeah.
Reaction times to what they're doing, if they change it up, if something I try doesn't go my way. Um, so I definitely do work with that.
Hmm.
I continue every day to put in that work.
Do you feel like it's easier maybe in MMA to adapt to someone rather than, or sorry, do you feel like it's easier to adapt to someone in kickboxing rather than MMA, because kickboxing is more of, it's strict with the cans and can'ts, rather than MMA where it's, a lot harder to tell what someone's going to do next. Do you feel like it's maybe a little easier, or it's maybe the same?
Really easier because if you're like really trying to do your striking game and cut angles, combos, you're not worried about someone just taking your legs right up from underneath you,
Yeah, right.
like a takedown. And to kind of get a sweep, you're looking at they're getting it a little closer, so you're kind of aware it's about to happen.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So again, you have two teammates fighting on this card with you. Eh, You know, your last bout and this bout, how does it feel having, you have a great support system, it seems. How does it feel having them fight alongside you on the same card and kind of have your back? I'm not sure I don't think the order of the card's been released yet. I don't think the full card's been released yet, but whether you're fighting before or after some of your teammates, how does it feel just having them there behind your back supporting you? And how'd you guys, like, again, like last time, how did you guys bring each other up, and how are you guys better prepared, as a team to go out and fight for this one? Um, I mean, you said your coach live or learn, or lose or learn, um, or win or learn. I'm mixing it up, I feel like, but how do you guys really just bring each other up and have each other's backs, when you go out to perform?
Um, we joke around a lot. That definitely keeps things light.
Mm-hmm.
I have one of our teammates, Chris Cox. He corners with our coach John, and he is very good about. He's just like, even at weigh-ins, he's like, all right, you're going to go do this, you're going to go over here and do this, and then you're going to go do this, and now you're good. So having somebody who's just there to kind of guide you from like each step and each point, even backstage at the fights, what's going to happen, where you're going, when you're going, which room you're going to. It's a maze back there.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
didn't have like guiding me around like
Right.
my
Yeah.
dog or something to figure out where the hell I was going. I would never have made it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he has the best dad jokes. He even had the commission guys laughing while I'm getting my hands wrapped. He's like, all right, I'm getting a little nervous. I need some jokes, guys. Start throwing out the jokes. We just keep it really relaxed, cool, calm, collected. We have similar emotions going into it, the healthy nerves, but the knowledge that we've worked hard, trained hard. It's nice to have that camaraderie back there.
Right.
That same boat as you, that so well, and that you see basically every day, all the time. Yeah, it's very calm and comforting to have kind of that core group of people to support you and be right there with you. And we
Right.
have a group chat, so our other teammates who are out in the stands or watching from home are
Mm-hmm.
always kind of hyping us up and
Mm-hmm.
just trying to us relax. So it's just
Right.
just being fun and keeping it relaxed is
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Definitely. And I got one last question: Is Lopotamus taking the W on November 1st?
hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You guys heard it here. Well, that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining me. Go show her some love. I'll leave her in the link in the description below. Check out her Instagram. Go show her some support and love. And I will catch you guys in the next episode of Changin Gears. Bye.